Okay, so we're working on our notary signing agent process. This is part 3. This will be our final part of this series. This is the last bit. This is what you do after the signing. So if you weren't at our live classes, the past 2 parts, go to our YouTube, Coast to Coast Notary Signing Agent University. You're going to see the first 2 parts, how to prepare for a signing, and then at the signing. Basically, this series was inspired by Laura Rose, who's in Dallas, Texas, one of my favorite places. And she had talked about what are the red flags to look out for in the whole process. And she's a new notary. I don't think she'd done any notary like loan signing work, but she really had it going on. She knew exactly what to do. So this is inspired by that, just things to look out for. If you've attended our classes or watched our videos in the past, this is all stuff you've seen before, but it's still happening. So the reminders are going to help. Some of it's repetition, some of it is new. And of course, I'm going to add in some crazy stories of what's happened recently on these subjects. So let's talk about what happens after the signing's completed. So Coast to Coast likes you to update your signing status within 1 hour of completion. It's a good practice to have the website on your phone and update it once you get into your car, or even while you're at the signing and you finished everything up, add a quick note. That way you don't forget to do it. And this is something that any notary who's been doing this any amount of time will know you're going to forget. I did a signing recently and I forgot to update for a whole day. So it's not something that necessarily means you're a newbie or is rare. It happens. So it's good to get in the habit of doing it right away. So maybe right when you get in your car, open up our website or whatever client you're working with and update their order. Let's talk about what that looks like. So in our image to the left, this is what it looks like when you update an order on SnapDocs technology, which is what Coast to Coast is using for the majority of their products. You can add signing successful or did not sign. If you click that did not sign, it's going to open up a variety of other responses. We're going to talk about just updating for successful signings. So when a signing successful, a lot of notaries won't say much, if anything, right there. But we think it's a good idea to add in as much detail as possible. You don't have to write a book, but provide all of the important information. If you've attended the last class or part 2 in this series, you're going to hear us tell you update along the signing, along the way. So as you're signing, if the borrower has to call their loan officer, add a note while you're sitting there waiting for them to get off the phone. If you didn't do that, now's the time to update with all this information. So for this signing, a personal check was collected for funds due. It lists the amount and who the check was made payable to. This is really important. And this is something that some of our big clients asked us to reiterate in our class today, is who the check is made payable to. For 98% of loan signings that have an escrow company, so there's title and escrow involved, the check goes to the title company. So it needs to be made out to the title company. If it's going to be made out to anybody else, a lender or a broker, that's going to be on the special instructions. But if a borrower has a check and you see on the forms that there are funds due to close, most likely it goes to the title company. Writing this information is really important. We've had, I'd say this week, 3 different times where the borrower provided a check going to the lender and escrow was frustrated. It delays closing, it delays funding of the loan. So keep that in mind. This notary also added in information. Borrower called their loan rep regarding their property tax payment. Notary is also giving an ETA, and we're going to talk a little bit about this in the next few slides, when scans are going to be uploaded. Actually, as we speak, I'm waiting on a notary to give me an ETA. It's a 2 loan signing. Lender's going to fund the loans based on the scans, and they want to fund the loans now. And notary's MIA. She said, oh, I'm gonna scan. And when I said when, I haven't heard back from her. And two other people are trying to get a hold of her too. So this is delaying funding. So providing a realistic expectation on scanning is really important. We're going to talk about that in a bit. And then also listing when you're going to drop docs and where is helpful. As a notary on SnapDocs, this is the only time for you to add the tracking information. So don't forget to do this now. If you don't do it, that's something that Coast to Coast has to do. Does it take a lot of time? No, it takes about a minute. But when you're an emails admin and you have 100 emails in your folder you have to get to, adding the tracking number is just a little delay. So now's the time, have that label with you if you have it. Sometimes labels are uploaded after the signing, in which case there's nothing you can do about that. But if you have it, make sure to enter that tracking. Okay, so you've updated the signing status, and what if there's a scan fax back requirement? It's going to list that on the order. Some notaries decide to scan regardless if there's a scan back requirement. They do that to cover themselves. They want to make sure that everything that they had signed gets uploaded in case later on down the line there's an issue where a document goes missing. They can cover their backs and the scan is there, which is very helpful. What if FedEx loses the documents, which happens all the time? Recently happened, we had to get a set re-signed. FedEx just lost the docs. They were, and they didn't provide us any update for 2 weeks, but the lender funded on the scan. Scan wasn't required, notary scanned anyways, loan got funded. We had to get some documents re-signed because the originals never appeared, but those scans really came in handy. So scanning can be important. Some notaries choose to always do it. I do have a quick images here. This is the scanner that I have, the Brother. It is, I think, with the dual tray and the scanning, total $600. So it's not the cheapest printer, but it's a wonderful scanner and it's got the dual trays and it's really easy to use. And then there's this image of the icon for Tiny Scanner, which is the scanner that I use on my phone. You can also use Cam Scan, Genius Scan. There's a lot of them. There's some that cost like $4. Some are free. I use the one that costs $4 so I don't get advertisements. Doesn't matter. You want to have multiple scanning options. We'll talk about that in a bit too. So again, fax backs can be helpful even if the client doesn't require them. But if the client requires them, you cannot neglect this important step. And as mentioned, one of the big reasons is a lot of lenders can fund based on those scans. So the funding can happen sooner if we have a scan, as opposed to waiting for the originals to arrive at escrow. That loaner that I'm actually waiting on the notary to tell me when she's going to scan, instead of funding on Monday, they're going to fund on Friday. Borrower's going to get the money sooner. The transaction's going to be closed. These transactions are lengthy. The sooner they can be funded and closed, the better. And as mentioned, you need to provide realistic ETAs on scans. If you say they're going to happen in 15 minutes, try to stick to that ETA. Now, sometimes you might have scanning issues, and that's why having multiple scanning options is helpful, if not important. I have two. I have my physical scanner, the Big Brother one, and then I have my Tiny Scanner, which I've scanned entire sets using Tiny Scanner. You just really have to take clear images, make sure the edges look good, and send them off as long as they look good. Sometimes they don't, and we'll get scans from notaries and it looks wonky. So you do have to take your time. It might take you longer than with a regular scanner, but it's important. When you're in a jam, lender needs docs, you can do it no matter where you're at. I've scanned in my car before going into a signing, so something you can do. And we're going to actually scan a set of docs together, and you're going to see why I recommend investing in Adobe Pro DC. It's $14.99 a month or $150 for the year or something like that. I use it every single day. As a notary, it's not required, but it makes your life a little easier and it allows you to do things. It also allows you to take files with scan backs really easily and not worry about it. One of my friends who's a notary, she comes over to my house to scan. And I eventually told her, you have a scanner, you need to scan, but she doesn't have Adobe Pro DC. And I said, why haven't you bought it? It's worth the cost. as of right now, she won't accept jobs that are scans, and worst case, she has to drive to my house to scan them. But when you have this, you have the freedom to take any signings you want. Scan back signings normally cost a little bit more, or you can request a little higher fee, maybe $10, $15. So you're going to make that $15 a month in one signing if you choose to do monthly, or maybe 2 signings for the entire year. So it's really helpful. And I'll show you some of the features that you can use on that. For coast to coast, and this is just for coast to coast and for most products with coast to coast, lots of times notaries will scan and then hold on to docs and wait for us to tell them docs look good and to drop. I want to remind you that when you work for coast to coast, scan the docs and then drop them. We don't ask to wait to hold for approval. We have too many signings and too many scans. We might not get to those scans in time, and then you're holding on to docs longer than you should, which we'll talk about as well. So just for C2C, when you upload scanned docs, go ahead and drop them off right away. Don't wait for approval, unless we specifically tell you we're going to go through them first, which is rare. Okay, so after you've scanned docs, which we're going to do together in a little minute, so you can see the whole process, it's time to ship them. We've talked about this maybe every class since we've resumed after our summer break, but it's important to use the right type and size envelope. So FedEx is, say, the majority of our clients use FedEx to ship. Sometimes they use UPS, sometimes they use GLS and GSO and Norco, all one company. But regardless, you want to make sure you're using the right kind of envelope. So FedEx lately has been experiencing some issues and delays. Apparently there was a strike due to the vaccine. And so a lot of pilots decided they weren't going to work, which means there's delays. This has nothing to do with that, but there's also lost packages and missing packages all the time. One of our favorite notaries who attends this class, she shipped the documents fine. She put them in a cardboard envelope, I think, and taped the top. For some reason, FedEx opened the tape. The docs all got lost. There was like 6 docs that came back, even though a full set was signed. So using the right kind of pack is going to help you prevent those kind of issues. Even though they're not your fault, you can help to prevent them. So we have 2 examples. We have the sturdy pack on the top left. This is a cardboard envelope, but it's thicker and it's meant for like loan docs, packages that are loan doc size. The regular cardboard is for under 60 pages. So if you have a 120 page set, it may open up. And in that case, that's on you, right? So use the right pack. Sturdy pack, you might need to ask the desk at FedEx. They might not leave them out for you to just grab. You can also order them online for free if you make an account with FedEx. And we really suggest using these poly packs, which are those polyurethane plastic packs. Those never open because of just the way that they're made. And make sure to use the large one depending on the package. And before shipping off, always make sure the package is sealed properly. So when you're in a hurry, and you have multiple signings, you might just put them in there and forget to seal them shut. That's going to be an issue. They will not arrive to escrow even intact. The docs probably will have flown out. Then they're going to go to the, I think it's called the over goods department of FedEx, and they're probably never going to be found, just the way it is. Those docs are lost in the Bermuda Triangle of FedEx, which is, you never find them. Or if you do, it's like 3 weeks later and they've already re-signed docs because loan docs are date sensitive. So beware of that for sure. Okay, and another quick note on FedEx, always get a receipt. We'll talk about that as well. And always go to a manned location if possible. We know some of you are in rural areas where there might just be a drop box, but if there is a postal annex or a FedEx location, drop there and get a receipt. And Lisa just mentioned, don't drop at Walgreens or Staples or Dollar General. I had an example of that this week. Signing took place on Sunday. Notary dropped at Walgreens on Monday. Docs didn't start tracking till Thursday because Walgreens might wait until there's X amount of packages there to ship the docs. So loan docs, which are critical, are just sitting there waiting for, someone's Amazon return or whatever, as to get as many packages as they can. Again, Scanback saved us on that. They could fund the loan, but they couldn't record the deed, right? And there was also a cashier's check in the package. So don't drop at Walgreens either, or any of those alternate places, unless it's like a postal annex. There are some post, the post, just the general, city post, not USPS, but there's going to be those little mom and pop shops that if FedEx comes every day. Just need to make sure FedEx comes every single day, or UPS. Okay, so again, just to reiterate our shipping needs, ship the same day if possible. If that's not possible, communicate that with our team. We had another client, was month end, new client, month end, and the signing took place at 2. She wanted the docs back the next day. She didn't tell us that, but she was expecting them to be back the next day. They weren't back. Tuesday morning, month end was Monday, Tuesday morning, she's screaming, "Where are the docs?" If the notary would have said, "Hey, this is going to have to go tomorrow because it's, signing took longer, drop-offs already occurred," then we would have been able to communicate that real quickly, or she wouldn't have even asked because she knew, because that was in the update, the status update. So communicate your shipping, any shipping issues, or just standard shipping. When the signing's complete, let everyone know when the docs are going to be dropped. Make sure to check the label and verify that it's going to the correct location. And this almost always means back to the escrow or title company. This is especially important with split signings, which we've talked about split signings in previous classes and videos. I think Errors 201 is one video, and our specialty signings. With split signings, part 1's going to always go to a second part signer or notary, and part 2, or the last part, is always going to go back to escrow. So you want to verify the label. It wasn't even a split signing, but the other day we had a signing where for some reason the lender gave us a label for the docs to be shipped back to the notary, which was weird. So the notary would drop in FedEx, and then the next day the docs would have arrived back to her home. Just weird, just an escrow error. Maybe they were creating the label, saw the notary's info and added it. Everybody makes mistakes, even our clients, even escrow and lender make mistakes. But the notary looked at the label, right? She was present when she was shipping, and it wasn't an issue because she said, "Hey, this label's going to me. I need one going to escrow," and it got fixed. So that's how you can save the day and help our clients, because they've got a lot of signings, especially month end. They're stressed. We need to help them. We need to make their jobs easier. And a lot of times you're the only ones that's going to catch it. Okay, we already mentioned dropping off at a staff location. Always obtain a receipt for shipping. And this is an important one. Never hold documents hostage. If you're mad about something, if you're frustrated at maybe the fee or maybe the way that, the signer treated you, do not take it out on the documents. Those documents actually don't belong to you. They belong to the lender. So if you're frustrated about something, communicate. Don't hold on to the documents. Another example of that is last week, notary did the signing on a Thursday, just like 2 Thursdays ago, held docs till Tuesday. And then when we called her, she said, "Well, I'll get to it when I get to it. I've still got to go through and make sure my notarizations are okay." And we were like, "Oh, you must be new at being a signing agent." Not to be condescending, but a signing agent knows you never hold on to docs. And technically, you're supposed to notarize at the signing table, right? So if she was going to finish her notarizations, why wasn't that done at the signing table? The docs finally arrived on Friday, so 8 days later. And they were bad. They were no good. We already had the docs signed like 3 days earlier. So can we pay that notary? Absolutely not. Escrow's not going to pay us. We can't pay the notary because she held on to docs for 8 days. So something to keep in mind. It happens. So if you're a new agent, just don't make that mistake, right? Don't hold the documents hostage for any reason and ship right away. And then people will never know you're a new notary. They're just going to think you're a pro. Okay, so you've shipped the docs out. What if an error is made? And we have several videos on errors. This is going to happen. All signing agents make mistakes. What we always say, it's not about the mistake, it's about how you fix it. So own your mistake. Don't be defensive. just take the measures needed to fix the problem. That's all you need to do. You don't need to grovel. You don't need to act like it's the end of the world. Definitely don't be defensive though. Don't act like, well, that's not my problem. If we're saying it's your problem, it's most likely your problem, so just fix it. That's all anybody wants. So error corrections have deadlines. So if you see an error, you really need to stop what you're doing and get it fixed. If you're at a signing, finish the signing and then figure out how you can fix it. And most of the time, the person who sent you the error is going to provide details on how you can fix it. So you're not going to be on your own. You just need to stop what you're doing and get it fixed. And like I said, most of the time you're going to be informed by email, sometimes a call. When you get that email, make sure you understand what's expected of you and how you can fix that error, and then follow the instructions thoroughly. And included in that is that all error corrections are going to require a scan of the correction, always. Very rarely are they going to say, okay, just ship it out, right? Because if an error was made at first, they need to make sure that it doesn't happen again. And a lot of times, like we mentioned, there are deadlines, there are funding delays. Errors oftentimes are caught an hour before funding needs to occur. So that error needs to be fixed right away. And that's why having some loose notarizations, which we talked about in the second part of this series, and your tiny scanner app on your phone or whatever app you use from your phone, make it to where you can fix most errors on your own in your car. If you're in your car and you get that email, you can create an acknowledgement, take a picture of it, send it over. And something that our quality control manager, Hannah, has mentioned is that you want to treat the error the way you would a new order. So you want to keep everybody in the loop, provide real-time updates of how the error correction is coming along, when the scan is going to be received, and when the original is going to be dropped off in FedEx, UPS if they require it. So communicate every step of the way. I've said it before, our clients want like an Uber Eats, Grubhub experience, but even more. So just like when the food is ordered, when it's in the kitchen, when it's on its way, when it's been delivered, you get those updates, you can follow up. They want the same thing for signing. And that includes error correction, maybe even more so because there's probably a deadline. So errors are going to happen. You're going to make them. Every agent makes them. It's all about how you fix them. Okay, so real briefly, let's talk about collecting payment. So say the signing's passed. You're wondering when your payment's going to come to you. Most signing portals will include a company's terms of service where you can find the company's payment terms. To the right is an example of that. Say I did a signing, I was going to get 65. It says that I'll receive a payment directly from Coast to Coast, which is a division of SoCal Signings, and you can view the payment terms. So it actually gives you that kind of like that contract, what you get paid for a no sign, when we make the payments. Here at the bottom, it gives our Coast to Coast only. So remember, this is just for Coast to Coast, our net. So when you get paid, we pay net 30 from that signing, and we email checks out on Fridays. So you did a signing 30 days ago. As of yesterday, you're going to get a check today. That's just for Coast to Coast. Other companies have sometimes longer ETAs, sometimes shorter. It really just depends on the company. And sometimes Coast to Coast is sooner than 30 days, just depends on where we're at. If you have a dispute regarding an amount, you need to add comments in that file or order pages activity. And for just Coast to Coast, you can also email Bill, not billing, not bills, Bill, it's actually a guy named Bill, at c2csignings.com, and he can look into those inquiries. But before you do that, and this happens all the time, it's one of my favorite things because it's so satisfying. You'll get a notary saying, I was never paid for these files. And so we go on to our deluxe checks, we find the check, we see that they're paid, we look in our bank account and it's been cashed. So it's satisfying for us because it's like, oh, good, glad they got paid and it's all taken care of. But that's something that you want to keep good records. If you're not sure if you've been paid, go on deluxe checks. We issue e-checks, which you get an email, you print the check, you deposit it, That's your check. You can log into your deluxe checks and you can see your previous checks as well as the remittance. So you can see what you've been paid for already. So before you ask anybody, check that first. Most of the time, if you check that, you're going to get your answer. Oh yeah, I was paid for that last week, or just got an email right now. Sometimes our notaries will miss the email that alerts them that they have a check. So just log on to that Deluxe Checks website and you'll be able to see what you've been paid for. Okay, just a quick do's and don'ts when it comes to collecting payment. When you work for a company, maybe you're new to this company, do request or review a pay period schedule for the companies that hire you. That way you're not freaking out if you haven't received a payment in 2 weeks because their pay schedule is 30 days. So make sure to do that when you first work with a company. Do not reach out to signers or other parties for payments. So if you were hired by a signing company, that's the only person you can reach out to. Only reach out to the company that hired you. If it's escrow, only reach out to escrow. Don't reach out to the lender. You almost never reach out to the signer unless the order specifically says the signer, this is the signer paying you directly. We actually have a file that's happening right now that our team is working on where it was our signing. We hired a notary. The instructions were that the signer is going to pay for the service and give the check to the notary for coast to coast. That happens sometimes. When that happens, you send that check to coast, and we're going to pay you the way we normally pay you. This notary is actually took the money and deposited it herself. So we're going to have to figure that out because she just didn't realize that that's what to do. She was pretty frustrated about it. And so were we, because now we're not getting paid for a signing, but every once in a while that'll happen. But for the most part, you're going to get paid by the company that's hired you the way they normally pay. So whether it's like direct deposit or if it's like we do check or e-check, don't go to the signers, don't go to escrow. If you go to escrow when you're hired by a signing company, they're going to get frustrated. And again, communicate with us first. So if you're worried you just haven't been paid, communicate with that company. If you go to escrow, most of the time they're going to come to us and say, deal with it. And maybe don't use this notary anymore because they're bugging me. That's why they come to us. So where they don't have to deal with those kind of payments. They already have all other things they have to worry about, paying their vendors and closing out escrow accounts. So go to the company that hired you. If you're working with a signing company, go to them. And do communicate with the contracting company for status. Again, we've had notaries say, yeah, I'm never going to work with you again because you've never paid me. And then we say, we've never gotten a request. What do you mean? Turns out we did pay you. They just didn't communicate it. They didn't know where to look. They didn't get that email, or they deleted that email with the check. So communication is so important. When you work with coast to coast, we're always going to pay you. We're never going to stiff you. Other companies, I can't say. I've heard of some companies. I know a few signing companies that went out of business and stopped paying their notaries, and is a big deal. Coast to coast will always pay you. We always have, we always will. And finally, do not be offensive or defensive when requesting payment status. There's nothing worse than when a notary is saying, I've never been paid for this and I'm super pissed and you guys are crooks. And then I look and they deposited the check. It's embarrassing, right? You're speaking before you do the research. So just don't be defensive. Don't be offensive. This is a business transaction. So professionally ask, and we're going to provide you a professional reply. And with coast to coast, you're always going to get paid. So just keep that in mind when you're working with us. Okay. And finally, keep getting assignments. How do you keep getting assignments? So respond to automated text message requests. So when our automator goes out, always respond. Even if you can't do it, respond. If you can't, don't say can't do it because of family emergency. Don't say that. That happens all the time. There's a popular notary trainer who tells you to say that. Just wait, there's going to finally be a family emergency. And we're going to go, oh yeah, right, sure. Like the last 15 family emergencies, right? I have notaries saying that all the time. And it is kind of like a scary claim to make, unless there is. So just say, I can't do it, right? Or if you need more money, say how much money you need. Or if you say, hey, I'm interested, but can you call me for more details? Do that, but always respond if you can. And don't worry, and feel free to follow up with a call. So if you get that text message, but you have a number to coast, give them a call and say, hey, I said yes to a signing. Can you assign me? That happens to me all the time. So you can absolutely follow up with a call. And when you get assignments, communicate every step of the way in real time. So when you get the assignment, when you've called the signer, when you've printed docs, when the signing's complete, all the step of the way you need to communicate with everybody. And don't cut corners. And that kind of has to do with the communication. So when you get an assignment, maybe you're busy, I don't want to call the signers right now, or I'll push that back until tomorrow, or I won't call, or I won't update the website. They don't need to know. Do the full process. You've seen now 3 videos, maybe, hopefully 3 videos of the process, the NSA process. So now that you've seen that process, follow it. It's not too hard. Get it under your belt so where it becomes your habit. And then don't cut those corners. If we've listed it, it's for a reason. And not every signing's the same. So maybe that one client doesn't need all that communication, but they're never going to get mad about having a thorough record of what's happened on the signing since you've received it. And it's important to treat every assignment as if it's the most important assignment. So, and this is something that we talked to a client this week about her expectations. And she said that we don't want you to overbook yourself. Do not take an assignment if you've overbooked yourself. I know that you have other signings too, but my signings need to be priority. So every assignment needs to be that. That's what this client is saying. And that if you've overbooked yourself and you don't have time to wait for docs, or you can't arrange to print docs, maybe print docs from one location to another location, don't take her work. So that's just a good rule of thumb in general, especially once you get really good and comfortable. You're going to want to take as many signings as you can, schedule them appropriately. Don't take the assignment unless you know you can do it, and treat every assignment as if it's the most important one. That's going to make the signing company happy, the clients happy, the signers happy. And you're busy. You don't want to let your signers feel that way. We had a really good notary signing agent get removed from our database because he made the signers feel rushed. And he pretty much said, hey, you've got 20 minutes. If you can't sign in this time, then I'm leaving. And it's a real shame because his docs turn out really good, but his manner was off-putting. And our biggest client said they don't want us to use him anymore. So something to keep in mind. And then, as you know from these classes, we really believe in your customer service skills. You need to keep improving them. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to fail sometimes. We all have personal lives and things going on, and there might be a lot of pressure. And sometimes we let that influence our work, but we want to just keep working on our customer service skills. If you want an overview of what that might look like, watch our How to Be a Favorite video, and you're going to see all the qualities that our favorite signing agents have. And all of them are customer service skills that are not too hard to follow once you just get in the habit of it, right? It's just a habit. And so even if it doesn't come really naturally to you, it's something that you can absolutely learn. Okay, everyone. So that goes my presentation, but I want to show you how I scan documents. So I recorded this yesterday, and I'll provide some commentary along the way. Okay. Let's see, Eli, my husband's saying I need to make it full screen. There you go. Okay, so let's scan a set of documents. Again, I'm using my brother's scanner. So I have a Mac, so this is how I access my scanner. I go to my systems, find the scanner, click scan, open scanner. Okay, so this is what it looks like when I open my scanner up. Now you have all the settings to the left. First one is the document feeder, whether it's the flatbed where it does a single document, or the feeder where I can insert an entire set of docs. So I'm going to choose the feeder. You can actually choose kind too. So do you want it to be in color, just the text, black and white? I'm going to choose color, so where they can see that they signed on blue ink. Something with the color though is sometimes it's a bigger package. We'll talk about that. Resolution as well. I have 4 options. One is going to be a really fuzzy scan. It's acceptable and lenders can fund off of that, but I like a little bit more clear scan. So I like to choose 200. If I were to choose 600, it would scan very slowly and it would take a long time to scan. So maybe for a single document, I'll do 600, but for a set of loan docs, 200 is perfect. And you'll see a sample of what that's going to look like. You can also choose the size. So letter, legal has all the other sizes, but really those are what you're going to use. This is just a letter size page, so I'm just going to use letter. If you had legal and letter, you could technically choose legal, but you might want to choose per PDF size, so separate them. You don't want to choose duplex because you're never printing loan docs on double-sided, right? So you never need to choose that. My option, I can scan to my desktop. I can name the document, and I'm going to make it a PDF. And this is important, combine into single document. So never scan one page at a time and then upload 100 one-page documents. You want to combine into one single document. Okay, so now I'm scanning. So this will take just a minute to scan. We can probably, let's see, can I fast forward? Yeah, but you can see the scan. So this is a good time while it's scanning for you to review the doc. So for me, I can actually see what's scanning. It's a beautiful, clean scan, no lines. You can read everything really perfectly. You might want to do your final quality control check at this time. So you're going through, making sure you didn't miss anything. C2C recommends quality controlling your documents 3 times before shipping. I quality control more just because I'm paranoid and I don't ever trust myself. So this is a good opportunity while it's scanning to make sure every document looks good, make sure you didn't miss anything. So that's what you can do at this time. My scanner, because I did that 200 resolution, it's scanning at a really nice pace. 100 is going to go really fast. 600, like I said, is going to go super slow. But I'm looking at my scans and there are some mistakes on these, but this is a fake set of docs, so I'm not too worried about it. But if this was a real set, if you see a mistake, you make sure to fix it. And then you rescan that one document. So where the lender gets the corrected form and the correct documents. Okay, almost done with the scan. Yeah, my mom just asked if I signed all these. I signed this set yesterday. I created a fake set of docs and I signed them with fake signatures. And then I notarized my fake signatures. Okay, so everything's scanned and look at how it comes up. It comes up into a beautiful single PDF, right? You might want to view it, make sure it still looks good the way it looked on the scanning previewer. So I want to show you why Adobe Pro is so wonderful to have. So in this case, this file required scans. This is my signing. You want to add in your completion status. In this case, I added in very little, was a signing, very straightforward signing. Signing went well, borrower called loan officer. Going to add in all of that critical detail. Going to say when scans are coming, so scans to follow or scans being uploaded right now. Going to add in the shipping information. So in this case, I was going to hand deliver these docs. So I'm going to upload these docs. Now watch how long it takes. My cursor right here, because it's a big file. It's 28 megabytes. That's a big file. So I want to show you how you can shrink that file. Now, just a quick overview. You can't email most escrow companies documents over 25. So I'm going to shrink the set. So you're using Adobe PDF Pro DC, whatever it's called, DC, I can shrink the PDF. And that's what I'm doing now. It sometimes takes a minute to shrink, especially if it's a big package. Okay, now watch this. So I've hit one button that takes me to shrink the package. And let's compare sizes. So it's 8 now. It went from 28 to 8. So That's one of the beautiful things about Adobe Pro DC is that it'll shrink the package. Now it's going to be easier for everyone else to download. When escrow needs to download it, the lender, they can do that relatively easily. I'm going to also show you how you can password protect documents in order to email them. So you can't just email a set of loan documents unprotected. Even if you have a protected server, you still need to protect the actual set of docs. So you go to protect on Adobe DC, protect using password, and then give it a password. I always put in a generic password that's nothing that's on the email. So maybe the borrower's last name and the property zip. You have to confirm that password. Okay, so now it's protected and I'll show you what that looks like. So now if I want to open it up, I have to put the password in. So now it's perfect. Then now I can email it. Before I'd have to only upload it to an encrypted site like our website. Now I can email it because I put a password on it. So I'm going to send a little email, but I want to make sure to give my client the password, but I don't want to explicitly write the password. So this person, escrow, is going to know the borrower's last name and they're going to know their property zip code. They might have to look that information up, but now it makes it more secure of a document to send. So I tell them it's the borrower's last name followed by the property zip code, lower cases, no spaces. There you go. Ship it out. So there you go. We just scanned a set of docs, reduced the package size, and added a password.